Hey, welcome to the farm. So this afternoon, since we have a little extra time on our hands and whatnot, I thought I'd share with you one of the things we really enjoy eating here on our farm. We don't do it as much this time of year because it's still late winter, but we just finished our last jar of what I'm about to make, so now is as good time of any. But you can do this anytime during the year. It's really awesome in the fall after you have harvested your garden. You've got a lot of excess veggies, or maybe you have a CSA and you get a lot of veggies all at once that your family can't eat. Or if you're not a lover of vegetables, this might be a way to eat some more that is very good for you. What we're going to do today is called lacto-fermentation of vegetables. We found this by accident about 4 years ago when we were trying to help T-Rex with some health challenges and doing a lot of reading. There's an amazing amount of benefit from lacto-fermented vegetables. Everybody's familiar with yogurt. And yogurt has acidophilus, and that's what most people think of when you think of good gut bacteria. But there's a lot of other benefits. It helps with inflammation in your system, good digestion, and as you get older, digestion can become more of a problem as you age. And I personally struggle with digestive issues, which is why we usually have fermented veggies on hand, and I try to eat them on a regular basis. So this jar is one that we picked up locally. I was actually impressed because looking at the ingredients, it's cauliflower, carrots, red pepper, pepperoncinis, water, salt, and acetic acid, calcium chlorate, sodium benzoate, sodium metabisulfate. We're going to stop at the salt. So our fermented veggies are going to be vegetables, water, and salt. And because of the process, it's an anaerobic fermentation, which means that the good bacteria will be able to thrive and the bad bacteria will not. So unless, we'll go over some of the things to look for at the end. But this is a very safe thing to do. They've been doing it for thousands of years and there's a lot of variety. So let's set this aside and we'll get talking about what you're going to need. You're going to need some canning jars to put your vegetables in once you're done. You're obviously going to need some salt, and you want to make sure it has no iodine in it, just pure salt. You can use kosher salt. I have used pink salt, but I just think it's more consistent when we use just plain salt. You'll need a tablespoon measurer, and then of course whatever vegetables. Today we've got carrots on hand. We picked up a couple of cabbages that looked okay. I pulled some of the outer leaves off because they didn't look great. We have some Spanish onions. I've got our homegrown garlic and some of our homegrown dill and our own cayenne dried peppers. So the first step before you even get to where I'm at right now is sanitation. It is very important that when you're fermenting vegetables, you want to eliminate any chances to have any foodborne illness. So you want to make sure your place that you're going to do this is all clean. You wash your bowls and your jars. I usually do a sink of soapy water with a tad of bleach, wash them out real good, rinse them out really good, set them aside. Just to make sure we don't have any microbes or anything yucky lurking in there. And then get your bowls together. I have several different bowls that we'll use. I've got my measuring cup to do my saltwater brine. And when we get to packaging them, I'll go over some of the other things I have. So you'll see a lot of videos online of people doing fermented vegetables. It has definitely become more popular since I've started doing it 4 years ago. When I looked into it, there was hardly any information. But I found this one gentleman, and I'll put a link below to his video from Nourishing Meals. It's very simple. It's what we've used. It works well. It's no fuss. You can do any vegetable, and I really like the no fuss. A lot of people are doing kimchi and whatnot. Play with it. Start with the basics, and that's what I want to show you today. So you can use mechanical equipment, but our theme here on our farm is how to do this with what you have on hand. We do own a KitchenAid, and we do have a slicer and a dicer, and it does all kinds of stuff. And in a pinch I'll do that, but I really do still like cutting everything up by hand. It doesn't cost any electricity. So the first thing I'm going to start with is the cabbage. The outer leaves we're going to pull off. And I'll explain a little bit about that after. We're going to set those aside because we're going to use them to keep all the vegetables under the salt water. Okay, so we're going to set a couple aside. Okay. Any bad spots you see, you want to get rid of. Okay. We're going to cut the core out. As you can see there, we want to get that core because that's really tough and nobody really likes to eat it. Okay, and so there's a couple different schools of opinion. I want to get the core out of here a little bit more. You can use a food processor to cut this up if you want. It depends on your personal preference. I like shreds. So fine shreds like that. So now we have a full bowl of cabbage. And it's okay to bruise the cabbage because the cabbage is actually what releases a lot of the lactic acid that's going to ferment. That's why you'll see a lot of different videos, but sauerkraut, it's the lactic acid in the cabbage that helps the fermentation process. So bruising it is a good idea. Some people add salt at this point. I don't feel the need. I just add it in my salt water and it works just fine. I took out some of the bigger pieces. Okay, so we're gonna just let that set aside. When I make my batch of fermented vegetables, I usually do a bowl of everything and then I fill up as many jars as I have. If I have leftover, we have stir-fried vegetables that night. So the next thing I'm going to cut up are the carrots. And, can I get the grater? because nothing goes to waste here. We save everything. All of this will go to the chickens. These have already been washed. And as soon as I'm done peeling them, I will grate them all. So we'll fast forward through this part. So now I'm going to do some sort of and I also help my team get more use from flashlight. So as you can see, we have quite a few shredded carrots. I like to leave the ends because I like to cut chunks, because you'll find as you start making fermented veggies that on salads sometimes it's beneficial to have the shred or the pureed, and sometimes I like to eat them like pickles, so we like to do some chunky. And since I don't want to grate my fingers, I leave the ends a little long and then I just cut them into chunks. So I'll put those off to one side. So the next thing we have to do is the cauliflower. And I don't think I pictured it, but we bought some cauliflower florets and they look beautiful. They're not brown at all. You really want to make sure that whatever vegetable you're using is as fresh and blemish free as possible so that it doesn't spoil. I love the farmers markets because the farmers markets you can get these gorgeous heads of cabbage and fresh vegetables, and I come home on a Saturday afternoon and we'll just make fermented veggies all afternoon. These I'm going to just put into chunks. Do we have a bowl? And just chunks. So I don't like having a lot of little pieces, and you can't really get around that when you're doing cauliflower, which is probably why that big jar I showed you, they have big chunks. As we put all this in the jar, these little bits, we don't want these to come up to the top. So usually I'll put my cauliflower down at the bottom so that it gets trapped, because we don't want anything floating up top. But we don't let anything go to waste, so it all goes in. So once again, we have farm fresh garlic from our harvest last year. We really like garlic in our fermented veggies. The nice thing is you can really cater this to what your family likes. If you like a mild pickle taste without the garlic. You don't have to put it in, but it really mellows. It doesn't come through as sharp at all. And the vegetables taste more like pickles than they do sauerkraut. So we'll cut up some garlic to go in our veggies. We're going to do a quick cleanup and we'll be right back. Okay, so now that we've got all of our vegetables cut up, and I want to stress that you can use anything, whatever you have, green beans, radishes, really experiment and see what you like. We use this combination because this is what we had on hand. So the process of filling the jars, I have two kinds of jars, and you can do this in any size container. We have a couple of regular mouth and a couple of wide mouth canning jars. So you start with the things that are crumbly on the bottom, or your preference. I usually try to mix a little of everything. So I always put garlic at the bottom. So I'll put garlic in the bottom of each jar. We like ours pretty hot, so okay. And then I'm going to put a little onion at the bottom. Okay. And then there's two schools of thought. You can either mix everything together or layer it. I like to do a little both. So I'll add a little cauliflower to each one. You want to pack it down just lightly because you can fit quite a bit in these jars. When you get to the top, you want to leave a good space because we're going to need to fill that space to keep all the vegetables underwater. So don't fill it all the way up. I'm going to do the chili pepper first, 1 and 2. So I don't know what the best way is to do it, but usually I add these at the bottom. My help has to open that vacuum sealed jar. But you can add all kinds of herbs in. Now, all of these vegetables, you've got your oranges and you've got your your cauliflower. They all have vitamins and nutrients, but you want to add flavor because by themselves they're kind of bland. So I like to add dill into ours, and just a little goes a long way in the package. And I'm going to mark a couple of these. These are chili peppers that we grew, or not chili, cayenne peppers. We've ground these in a coffee grinder, and they're pretty potent. So I'm just going to put a few seeds, and I'm going to put one right there so I can see it, so I know that that one has, and this one have chili peppers in them, because we like them hot, but I like to know which ones are hot and which ones are not. Okay. Make a mess. That one is going to have the cabbage leaf. Oh, so these ones have, I didn't mean it to, with the small mouth. There we go. Do you want to put hot in this one too, or no? Okay, so now that we've got our jars situated, we're going to make the brine. And the recipe is 1.5 tablespoons of salt per 2 cups of water. So we have 4 cups here, which isn't going to fill all the jars, but we'll get you started here. So we need 3 tablespoons. Now the salt is very important, as we said before, because it's going to keep the bad bacteria from growing, but it's going to be enough that it will preserve the vegetables. So we need to stir it. I'm probably going to need more. Okay, so we want to stir this until it's good and dissolved. Now, how we cap these can be done many different ways. The traditional way I'm going to show you first, and this is how I learned to do it, and I've done it this way for 4 years. So you pour your salt water in. It's going to bubble up. Kind of shake the jar a little bit, fill it back up. Just to the top edge of where your vegetables are. Okay, and we'll do we'll do this one first. Okay. So once we've got the liquid in there, we take those cabbage leaves and we fold it in half and fold it again to make a flat pack. And you just shove that down into the jar. And what that's going to do is it's going to shove all the vegetables underneath. And then you simply put a lid on it. And you want to do it a little snug, but we have to burp these every day because the air it's going to create gas, and you have to burp them. So usually I back them off just a smidge, and we put this in a pan. Okay. Now there is another option. I used the cabbage leaves for 4 years, but recently we came across these lids, and I'm very interested to try that. So we have one more wide mouth, or sorry, narrow mouth. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to use the cabbage leaf. Okay, but this time, and I think I got rid of my ring, we're going to just set that on top. And the advantage to that, the reason that I looked into this, is because there's people who think that these lids aren't good for the salt water. I've used them that way for a very long time and I've never had a problem. But this is supposed to keep it so that gas can get out and it shouldn't make such a wet mess in your pan. So let me go get some more salt water. I'll be right back. Alright, so now I've got my next batch of salt water. We're going to get a couple paper towels. And we're going to set these that we just did on this pan because this one, as I said, is going to leak a little bit over time. So now we'll do our wide mouth. And for the wide mouth, we've got something exciting. I just ordered these. They're by Kinwell. There's several different manufacturers, but these are glass weights. And I'm very excited because they're reusable, and I think they'll hold the vegetables underneath. The cabbage can sometimes look a little funky, but it's okay. And we're going to go over that in a second. So for these, we are going to fill them with water like we did before. Yes, it's messy, and I'm a messy cook. They say messy cooks are good cooks, so apparently I'm a good cook. Let's see. How are we doing with that? We need a little more than that one. That one will be good. Okay. So we're going to take these glass weights. Oh, that's awesome. And that'll hold it down. Now, I usually use wide mouth. And I like these lids. You can get them online anywhere. They're great for when you're canning vegetables. After you open the can, if you don't eat it all, you can use these lids to seal it back up. So I'm just going to put this lid on, and that's awesome. I'm really liking those glass weights. That's going to be amazing. I think that was a very good purchase. Yeah, that's awesome. Loving it. And look how pretty those are. Isn't that beautiful? It's like a work of art. And in the fall, when you get all different veggies, you can add different colors in there. Radishes are really good. So we're going to let these sit at room temperature for 4 to 7 days. We like 7 days. You can eat them at 4. If you like them not as fermented, you can let them go longer. But once they're at the desired flavor for you, put them in the fridge, and they will stay good for a long time. They're a unique flavor, and here we go. This is a book that I recommend. It's called Home Fermenting Starter Guide. What I like about this book, yes, I like books. It has an explanation of what the benefits are, you know, how you can save money by making your own sauerkraut, the health benefits to having fermented vegetables in your diet, all the different ways that there is for fermentation, and they keep it simple and not overly complicated. Then, this is one of my favorite pages, which is partly why I bought the book. It goes over what to look for to know if your fermented vegetables have a problem. Scum on the top. Yes, some of these will get scum on them. It's not harmful. It happens. It's caused by yeast in the air. Skim off any and continue fermenting. It's fine. Mold on top. Yes, mold can happen, but you pull it off and let the fermenting go. The cabbage leaves will get a little dark, which is why I wanted to switch to the glass. But it is okay. You can pull it off and put in a fresh cabbage leaf. It's fine. Pink on top is a result of yeast overgrowth, and it's caused by not having the proper weight. So you just remove that pink kraut and continue fermenting. The one thing that you want to watch for is if your vegetables are slimy or the liquid is at all gelatinous or slimy, throw them out. That's the only one, according to this book, that really is a problem. They're awesome. Oh, before we go, we talked the other day while we were out in the greenhouse that we're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers. So we came up with an idea. We would like your suggestions, but how do we pick somebody from the suggestions? Well, we're a homeschooling family. So here's our address, Mefford Endeavors, LLC, P.O. Box 3, Morris, Connecticut 06763. We want a postcard from you. We have a map. Oh, I don't know where I did with the map. We have a United States map, and we want to see where all our viewers are. And when we get to 10,000 subscribers, we're going to pick some lucky winners. We make our own clothespins here that are absolutely phenomenal. We make our own harvest baskets, which are the best on the market. You'll agree when you finally have one. We have the dehydrated garlic. We make maple syrup. We have all these products that we want to give away to some lucky winners, but we're going to make you send us a postcard because we want to do geography too. We like to incorporate education in everything we do. So take down our address, send us a postcard. We're really excited to hear from you, and let's get to 10,000 subscribers. What?
Repeat the address.
Oh, repeat the address? You got it. Mefford Endeavors, LLC. P.O. Box 3. That's the number 3. Morris, Connecticut 06763.